Well, hello everybody. Happy Wednesday, October the 26th. Welcome to my Creature Curations. Tonight's going to be a little different than the past handful of nights because I need to get some painting done on some props that I'm going to be incorporating into my Halloween costume. So what I've done is I've taken some pre-existing props that I got from like a local Halloween shop that were pretty inexpensive, and then I modified them a little bit, and I'll show you what I've done, and then I'm going to break out some paints and we'll get started painting them and just see where the night takes us. So this guy right here, well, also, I hope everybody is having a great night tonight. Please feel free to ask any questions along the way. I'm happy to answer any that I can in relation to what I've done or anything else. So what this was a hammer that I got at the Halloween shop, and I created my own eyes using these glass Kaffons, and I designed an eye, printed it out, and glued it to the back, and then I sculpted on top with a 2-part air drying resin called Magic Sculpt. And so I used 2 different types of Magic Sculpt because I had some that I was already working with the other night, and that is the gray material. Then after that dried and I sculpted a little more last night, I decided that I wanted to use some that's pre-mixed that has a black pigment in it, because then I don't have to prime it. I'm going to have to go in and prime this area here just to get a base coat down, and then go in and add color. Some other things that I've done to it, so these were bumps here, and I cut those out. They were styrofoam, so I just cut those out, put the eyes in, sculpted around it. Also on top, I cut that same bump out at the top, and I used a seal that I have to put my Creature Curation seal in there. Now you'll see on the eye on the other side, where I just used the black Magic Sculpt, it's all just that complete resin Magic Sculpt. I also, down at the handle, wrapped it in leather, put some fancy pants push pins in there that I got at the hobby store, and then I coated that with a Mod Podge, which is just like a glue to kind of help seal it in. And then I cut off part of the base, and I sculpted this kind of toothy claw thing down at the bottom that'll be good for smashing into things. Along with that, I also took some cheap goggles, and I sculpted on top of those in the same monstrous texture that these eyepieces are in, thinking that, yes, very fancy pants indeed, that whatever monster I've slain to put into this Warhammer, I'm also wearing to see through to help me see things differently. I'm not creating any pre-existing character that I'm dressing up as. I'm kind of trying to start building out humanoid races that will live in my world Revelo, where all of my monsters that I sculpt live. So I'm kind of just making it up as I go. I think each year the costume will probably get a little better. But since I'm not really I haven't really done much in the way of costumes before, I'm just going to start building it out. So the paints that I'm using tonight are these Reaper mini paints. Reaper is a company that makes miniatures for gaming, and I backed one of their first Kickstarter campaigns, and I got in the set I got some of their paints, and I can never do really tiny details on miniatures. It's just I can't get myself to do it. So I started using the paints on some of my sculptures, and I loved how well they went on, how well they coated things, the colors that they already have pre-mixed, how they blend together. So I've just been ordering them since then. Even if they come in little tiny bottles, they go a long way. So I'm going to put some black down on top of here just to give this a base. Then we'll flip this guy over and start actually putting some color down on top of the other side that doesn't need a primer. Now every now and again, you'll get one of these if you've had it sticking around for a long time and it's clogged up. I'm just going to grab this paper clip that I have going and just kind of jam it down inside to clear out any clogs that I've got. Hopefully I won't pierce through the bottle itself. There we go. One of the things about wearing an apron, you can always wipe off excess on that, and it just makes you look even more artsy. Alright, I'm just going to put a little black down now, because I can always add more to it later if I've used it all up, but you can't always take it away and put it back in the bottle. Also for my brush, the brush that I've been using lately on almost all my stuff has been a flat number 4 Trekell Golden Tackline brush. It's held up pretty well considering the textures that I put into my sculptures, because they've taken a pretty good beating. So I'm just going to go in lightly and give it a coating to try and just get a base down. And then I have a feeling, like, I picked out a couple of blues to start with, to do the monster skin texture in blues, because I always tend to go blue with most of my creatures. That's what I gravitate towards, and since this is my costume, I think I'll do the same. I'll just go ahead and start going down the blue family. I thought about doing red to make it like it was a red dragon, like from the very first basic D&D box set, where I really first started getting into gaming in 4th grade many moons ago. I'm getting a little bit of paint on here isn't a big deal, especially on the glass eye. I'll be able to scrape that off, but I'll probably go back in and clean it up just a little bit before we flip this over. And normally when I'm doing something like this, I would just go ahead and spray paint the whole thing, like with a black color, if I had a whole lot of sculpting done on it, just so that it would coat and go in all the nooks and crannies, and it'd be super easy to just go in and paint after that. But it's kind of on a little bit of a timeline with Halloween coming up, and there's like a walking of the square where I live on Saturday we're going to take the kids to. So if I have everything ready by then, before Monday, I'll go ahead and dress up as my goofy self. Alright, so I've got that pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and rinse this brush out and kind of wipe away where some of the paint has gotten seeped down into the eye, just to clean it up a little bit now, and then I'll do a extra fine cleanup when it comes time. So I know I was normally going to be doing this Wednesday afternoon, but we've had a sick going around in our family, and I had to go and pick up our son from school this afternoon, so I couldn't do my normal afternoon stream. So anybody that was going to be there and came this evening, thank you for joining me on tonight's quest. It's nice to mix it up a little bit, have some painting in the evening, instead of just sculpting. Feel free to throw in song requests via the ! song request. Alright. That'll dry up real fast. Now, one of the nice things about this paint is it really does dry up quick. Now, while I'm starting to think about the colors that I'm putting in, I'm just going to squirt down these 2 blues. I pulled out just 2 blues that I'll start with, and then I'll reach up behind the camera and grab some more, because I've got all of my paints up on that shelf behind me. So I'll have this turned on its side. I'm going to grab, it's this Surf Aqua color. Let's see what this looks like. Looks like it's going to be super bright, which is okay. And then I'm going to bring another color in, which is a Nightmare Black, which isn't really a black. I mean, it's black, but it has a whole lot of blue to it. And I'm just squirting a little bit down on my palette. I guess I could do that in a slightly different place so you can see where it is. The palette that I'm using is just a clear piece of plexiglass. I've got a handful of these laying around, so I use these pretty regularly. They're fairly easy to scrape off when they start getting built up, so that I can keep using them. So normally with a dark color like this, I'll start dark and keep building up lighter. But since I know I'm going this bright blue, I'm gonna just put a little brushing of this Nightmare Black in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and come in with that blue and kind of blend it in together. And then I'll come back and hit over the higher points to get some of the highlights in. And this may just take a couple colors to make this work. I may see it, I may need to go back in and add more. One of the things when you have so much texture and detail in here, you can just do a couple coats of color and it'll come across, it'll start to find its way real quick. And so like I'm already starting to see good texture. I like this blue color, especially since it's been mixed in with that Nightmare Black. See, when it's just laying down on its own, it's a little too bright, so I definitely need to bring some more Nightmare Black into it, and then build up with the lighter blue, so that I can use that primarily for the highlights. So I'm going to go ahead and bring a little of that in. And if you just do a light brushing over top of the textured detail of the three-dimensionality, it really goes a long way. Hoping I don't have to, I'm hoping the family sick doesn't hit me during the middle of this stream. If all of a sudden I jump up and disappear and scream, "Bathroom!" you will know that I've been scorned the evil curse and failed my constitution check. Okay, I'm going to just bring a little more of that light blue in and blend it as we go. It's okay that I'm getting it on top of the eyeball. We'll go back in and clean that up in just a bit. I'm going to get some of the lighter blue, just a finer touch, and get it right on the eyelid itself. And then I'm going to rinse out my brush, dry it way off. Wish my music didn't fail. And I'm just going to pull this down. Just kind of blend it in just a little bit. It's important that I got all that excess off so that it wasn't just lingering around. Now I'm going to do nice, gentle treatments like that on all the ridges right along the top here. And then I'll go back in. That way it'll have a good blend to it. Go ahead and put a little here, knowing that I'm going to come back to that real quick. Again, with rinsing my brush out really thoroughly, drying it off. That's why I love having an apron that I can just quickly wipe the brush off on, especially so I'm not wrecking my clothes, because I've wrecked so many shirts and pants, just not caring, being more into making sure that I blended things how I wanted them to. So I'm going to bring some into the top as well. And once we get all the monster part painted, I'm going to go through and do touch-ups on this whole thing, because it was very monotone when I got it, and I really want it to have a lot more vibrancy to it. Feel a lot more alive. I want to feel like I've swallowed the soul of this beast. It is making me stronger as I use the sheer force of the creature. So if anyone has any ideas on what sort of creature I've trapped in here, I'm up for suggestions. I may even turn that into a sculpture at some point. Alright, I've got that bit laid down. Let's turn it so you can see it a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit up here, just in the corner. And then I'm gonna go ahead and brush it off on my apron and pull it down. Thanks, Drew. It's good to see you, man. How's your evening going? Yeah, it does look pretty dragony. That's what happens when you put these scales in and make eyes that are reptilian. And alright, I think that's pretty good on this side for now. I see a little more creases that I'm going to jump in and put more highlights in, but I kind of want to go over to the top part and get a little bit there, and I realized that I didn't put... Right on. You playing some Civ 6 right now? So I'm going to go ahead and put some black on top where I've used some of the base magic sculpt. Right on. No, I've just recently started making my own eyes. So with those, let me turn this on its side so I'm not laying anything wet down. Right on. We still have not gotten back to the British Bake Off. But the eyes I made, they're just some kind of clear glass. They're called Caffons, and I've started designing the eyes in Photoshop and Illustrator, and doing those, printing them out, laying down some glue on the glass, gluing the eyeball down, waiting for it to harden up, cut it out, and put some more glue down on the back. And it's been working out pretty well so far. I get to make whatever sort of eyes I want to. Okay, I'm going to do a quick layer of black on the top here, just to give this some foundation. and then we'll get back to making some blue on the other side. We'll see if that black has dried, and if not, we'll maybe put some blue on the bottom where I put some of that monster texture in. But this paint dries real quick. That's one of the other things I really like about it. Okay, I've got that base in. I'll rinse that black out. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's not nearly as... They're not as great as like the taxidermy eyes that I buy that have the color go all the way through the dimension of the eye socket, the eye itself. It's flat, but it's pretty good. I mean, it tricks the eye really well. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and do this part that's on the bottom, this texture down here, while the other side dries up a little bit. Again, I'm going to take some of this Nightmare Black and just lay it in to give me something to blend that lighter blue into so it's not so punchy of a blue. Oh, hey Drew, I got the applications are now out for the for Gen Con art show, so I'll be filling that stuff out soon, just to go ahead and get it out of the way and make sure that I do not forget. I think that is going to be another, it will have to be tradition after this past year. And just quickly blending this in. Since this is underneath, I didn't put as many details and textures in here. It just kind of has the scaly texture. So I'll probably just do a rough color for now, and then come back after we start putting highlights in on each side, just to make sure I can add a little of that so it doesn't look flat compared to the rest of it. And so Drew, if you weren't tuning in earlier, this is going to be part of my Halloween costume as I slowly build up my character for my Revelo world. I thought I planned on doing a garden gnome, but then once we got to the Halloween store, Wyatt really wanted me to start getting some weapons and be more of some sort of warrior type creature. Dwarf or gnome. Alright. We got this side done. This side looking pretty good for that for now. I'm going to let it dry so it sets up, because the magic sculpt will kind of soak it up a little bit, and it'll get a little bit darker. So we'll come back and put a couple more layers in on top of it. But for now, pull this hair out of the top. Flip it on this side, and we'll do the same thing that we did over there by putting in some of this Nightmare Black. It's good for some Nightmare Black this time of year. Then put in some of that Surf Blue, Surf Aqua. Oh, and Drew, I think since last time you were on, Song Request is actually working now. So feel free, if you have any interest, you're welcome to use the exclamation mark Song Request, then the song, and then the band. And if it's on YouTube, it should pick it up. Which I'm surprised at how much stuff is on YouTube. Alright, I need to grab a little more of the Nightmare Black. When you've been using something so much and the oil on your fingers get on it, some of these labels get hard to read. Totally. So I started, I've got some vertebrae from some small animals from some various stuff I've collected over the years, and I started trying to braid my beard into it. That is going to be quite the undertaking to do that, but I think we'll probably start working on that tomorrow night or maybe Friday night. Probably not tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is carrying my 9th wedding anniversary. So I should probably not be putting bones in my beard. Oh, no space in the word Song Request. It's nice to mix it up every now and again, so I'm not just hearing the same few songs that I put into the playlist. I've got a few more spots in it, and I need to go ahead and mix that up a little bit. Yes, that is correct. It's not my fault you couldn't commit. Carrie was going through pictures today, looking at some of the photos. Pulled up a good one of you and Tanya drew. Pulled up a nice one of Chris holding the second edition or third edition Dungeon Master's Guide. I did not blacklist Rick Astley, but that would be pretty awesome. She totally rickrolled me. The very first song. I'm gonna get a little bit of water and clean up some of this eye. One of the problems with I love how long these brush handles are, except for when I've got this bird's eye camera down over top of it because I keep smacking it. All right, I've got some base color down. I'm gonna put a little more light in here, but I kind of want it to absorb now. What comes out of the speakers that's not a match? You mean for the song you just requested? Because it gets added to the queue, and then it'll come up in a song or two, depending on how many people have requested stuff, and I don't know how it does the math as to when it decides, okay, now we're going to put that in. It's been pretty quick. I do not know what this song is, but the video that it's playing in my window looks pretty entertaining. Almost looks like a bunch of people playing GarageBand. And some songs, depending on how they're put on YouTube, don't come through my speakers nearly as loud as the others. Well, in that case, say goodbye to that song. I'll skip it. So, normally I'm not doing that when I've got my sculpting gloves on, because I try not to touch the computer at all. But since I'm just painting, I can definitely do that. Excellent. I'm curious to see what it sounds like. So I hope you're not doing too much work this evening, Drew. Is Tanya traveling to the Philly right now? I'm just going to go ahead and keep putting a little more light blue on here. Just a little more. And then we'll come back. We'll do the top. See how the other side did. I want to pull a little bit of color down on the side. Damn, that's a long time to be on the road. Is Will back from the Texas side yet? Gonna put a little bit of blue on the side, just where it's kind of folded over. If at any point I get where you can't see what I'm looking at, hit me up. I will make sure that I get it lined up better. I think this thing's going to be pretty crazy once it's done. Nice. Alright, I need some more of the light blue, the Surf Aqua. I'll drop some of this in onto my palette. Then we're going to go ahead and put some of that. Let's see, what's a good way for you to see this well? I'm going to give it pause since it's on a bit of a delay. And as a wreath, if that's the right way to say it, thank you for the follow. I hope your evening is going well. And welcome to my Creature Curations. If you have any questions along the way, I'm happy to share any knowledge that I have. So, the hammer, the mask. I've got some shirt that's not really great. I have a feeling I'm just going to have to build it up over the next couple of years, because I'd like to throw a kilt in, but it's just not in the funds at the moment to do that and have it express shipped or Amazon primed. I think I'm going to actually... thank you very much. This is actually a pre-bought hammer that I then sculpted on top of and added eyes to, and now I'm painting and added a bunch of other little bits. But I was thinking that I would be some sort of my character would be some sort of like dwarven hybrid creature, and then I'll start working that into Revelo and figure out how I want to work them in as a race into the world. And then I'm just gonna take that light blue and just blend it in to the into the Nightmare Black that I laid down already. Okay, I'm gonna have to tilt it this way so I can see it a little bit better. Watch out for the spike. All right. And I'm gonna put some more of the highlights along the edge, especially since it's got some of the brighter colors up there already. Now I'm just going to dry the brush off and pull that color down to help blend it in just a bit. And the top where the symbol, where my sigil is already dry from the black base, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that down as well. So is this the song you threw in, Drew? And pretty on point for Carrie. Wyatt insisted on being a vampire. And I have to finish making his staff that has a skull on the top of it. Excellent. A Mario sample is always good. Okay, I've got that base down. Now let's turn this around and let's see, is there anywhere else that I want to put that blue color? I don't think so. Oh, I'm going to put it on the goggles. So while this is starting to set up, I'm going to go ahead and move this and start painting the blue on this, since I want it to be the beast that the hammer is made out of is the same as the one that'll be my goggles. And the goggles will probably end up being just riding on the top of my head for now. And these were like a $10 pair of goggles at the Halloween store. So just by sculpting a little bit on top of them, it's really adding new life to them. Yeah, nothing like a vampire that's got no front teeth. Okay, I'm gonna put in some of this again with the Nightmare Black. And I'll go ahead and grab some of this blue and start blending just a little bit. Just because I want to see the color come together a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit weird with this blue tape and the blue, so I may go ahead and pop that off of there just so I can have a better vision of what it's going to look like for real. I'm just going to grab an X-Acto. Yeah, they're just masked with some painter's tape. I did that mainly for when I was sculpting. Just got to be careful not to scrape the cheap plastic that the goggle part's made out of. Also, the goggle lenses are tinted green, so that'll affect how the blue looks overall. So I'm just trying to be gentle as I peel the tape away. And hopefully it'll come off pretty clean around where I sculpted. I may have to take the X-Acto in there and scrape it away just a little bit more around the edges, because the sculpting probably went down over top of where the tape was laid down. I was pretty tired last night when I was sculpting this. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto blade and go try and do it at a slight angle to try and make sure that I'm pulling, I'm not cutting too much out, and if I'm hitting the lens, it's not a big deal. Come on, tapey tape. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get it out. So, Drew, are you doing anything fun for Halloween? And I'm going to scrape that up just a little bit. Okay, I've got most of that top line out. Some of it wants to fight me a little bit. Do not fight me. There we go. And then just got to cut the bottom part off as well. This will be good just because if there's any little pieces of the original mask that need a little bit of paint added to them, I can get them now that the tape will be gone. And the plastic of the goggles themselves, the lenses, should be pretty easy to clean off, especially if I do it while it's still wet. Speaking of, let me go ahead and rinse out my brush a little bit. Bring this guy just in the screen so anybody's jumping in that hasn't been watching, they can at least have a better idea as to what's going on here instead of me just trying to get my fat fingers around some little teeny bits of sticky tape. Excellent. So has he made it back from Texas? Alright, some of this tape doesn't want to come out. Should probably have like a little teeny pair of tweezers here, and I do not. I'll go ahead and cut around the edge of the other one. Just gonna do a quick little light cut. Hopefully most of this will pull itself out. Now I'm just gonna start pulling the tape up a little bit at a time. And then we'll get back. Hey, Benicula, how's the packing of the living room going? Whoa, just pop the tip of that X-Acto blade. No. Awesome. Awesome, I hope he makes it back soon. While you were away, Benicula, I started painting on this guy. Flip him over this way. And going to come back in and throw some highlights in a little bit, but wanted to start painting the goggles the same monster blue that those are going to be painted. And just going to come in and try and get this couple little more bits of tape that don't want to come out of these. Then after that, I'm just going to end up painting over whatever is left, which is totally fine for me. These are just a personal prop, not getting sold to anybody. It was crazy to me how easily the plastic on here just took the Magic Sculpt. Kind of peels off a little bit around this like fake leather stuff that's on here, but that's going to be okay because most of the time it's going to be pressed up against my forehead anyway. Alright. Get that little piece. There we go. Alright, let's start putting some color down on this. Definitely make it come to life a little bit quicker. And get some of the smudges off. Some tape glue that's on there. Alright. Gonna put down some of this Nightmare Black. I'm just gonna start working it on fast just to get some foundation down, then bring in the Aqua Surf to start bringing the color out a little bit more. Alright, bringing the light blue in, mainly just on the upper, the spaces that are sticking up a little bit more, and then I'm just going to blend it down. And then we'll come back in once this dries and add some more of the light blue and keep layering it up so it'll build up more opacity and really get nice and bright and shiny out to the color that I want it to be. And again, bringing this dark color around the edge. And we'll need to bring it inside and be a little more precise as we're coming into the inner part of the goggles where some of the Magic Sculpt didn't actually get. Just make sure I touch every part in there. Hey, Hearts and Meow, thank you for the follow. Can Uncle? That thing around the corner of your eye. You mean like the little like kind of fleshy colored part inside your eye? So I'm just now I'm just going to keep adding some more color to this, but I like the idea of that if that's the part that it is, that little bit inside your eye, I think that could totally bring it to life even more. And just gonna make sure I touch up all the spots in here, especially where there's still a little bit of tape that's lingering on. Hopefully that'll just get blended in to the paint and just become part of it. So now that I've got that dark blue base, I'm gonna start adding even more of the lighter blue on top and just quickly brush it on to let the texture of the sculpting pop out more. Inner edge near the nose. Oh, totally. That is a good word. I will not remember it by the time this hangout's over, though. I'll have to go back and look at the chat manuscript so I can remember it. All right, I'm gonna add another little bit of the light color down on the bottom part, and just blend it down in. And now you can. I'm really getting to see some more of the details in the texture that I put on here. And I know that I didn't actually stream while I was sculpting this guy because I had to do it at a weird time of night while we were watching some TV, because I just had to get this done in time for Halloween festivities. But I'll demonstrate this texture sometime soon, because it's a pretty easy one to accomplish if you have the right tools. Room? Is that how you pronounce it? Room? Okay, I'm starting to like how this is looking, especially in relation to the hammer, and knowing that we're going to come back in and add more highlights to the hammer and more highlights to this. So it's time to move on to the other eye area and actually take a quick peek at how it's pretty much going to sit on top of my head, because I like being able to see pretty well, especially at night and when chasing after our kids. So I have a feeling they will be all over the place this Halloween. Yeah, I just added a little more light blue just because I felt like it needed it right there. I'm going to jump back in, throw some of the darker blue in here so I can blend it. And I'll go ahead and bring it around. Make sure, I'm going to go ahead first and go ahead and get inside all the area of the goggle, just to make sure I've got it all covered, make sure some little bits of tape that didn't come through, or some little bits of the gold goggle where it was the original plastic of these cheap goggles were. Now I'll go ahead and bring a little bit of the light blue in. Probably not too much, because I'm going to need to throw some more of that Nightmare Black in to really get around the edges. And when you get it on this cheap like faux leather, all you've got to do is just rub it real quick with your hands to get it out of the way. And one of the things, if you weren't here earlier, I wrapped the handle of this with some cheap scrap leather that I got at the hobby store. And then I sculpted the kind of tooth fang thing that's on the bottom, and we will paint that up in a bone-like color in a little bit. And I think Saturday I will get back to painting or sculpting some of my bigger monster creatures, which is going to be a lot of fun because I've got like 3 that are so close to being done. It'd be awesome to get 3 done in the next couple of days so that I can bring those in to start painting them. Okay, I need to grab a little more Nightmare Black. So anybody have any fun Halloween plans? It's crazy because the past handful of years I haven't really done much in the way of dressing up. It's just been really taking the kids around, and almost every year at at DragonCon, I always feel like I need to start dressing up. I need to, especially, I've wanted to have my buddy Russ make some real like steampunky powered guns and rifles of what could have hunted the beasts that I sculpt, and almost dress up like I'm either a big game hunter or I'm some sort of explorer in my land of Revelo. So I think it's time that at least one of the 4 days of DragonCon, I'm at my booth and I'm dressed up. Maybe more, depending on how people react to it, and if it brings them in and actually make them want to talk about my critters more or not. Or if they're just like, wow, that guy looks weird. Okay, I'm going to brush in some of this light blue and just kind of blend it. Just quickly going back and forth over the color that's already there to have them blend in together. And then once all this dries, we'll come back in and hit it with some brighter versions and keep coming back with some highlights and stuff. I think we'll do a few rounds on top of the hammer too, just so that it really has a build. You're reacting with a laugh? Oh, to me being dressed up at my booth. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring just some water in here to get off some of the paint that just kind of dripped down in there. Use a little paper towel to clean things up as we go just a bit. Okay, now that we have that set, at least for a base coating, we'll come back to that. I want to get back to the hammer for a few minutes. I'm going to take that same light blue and add more to what we've already put down, because the more you put on there, the more the opacity is going to thicken up and really stand out more. Especially like around the eyes, I want to make sure it's nice and bright and jumps out. And do it around the top as well. Just do a little bit, add some more contrast. I don't want to put it all over, because I want to make sure that there's variation as we go. I'll probably put some around the edges just to help this stand off even more from the back of the hammer. And we'll end up going in and putting some other colors into the hammer. I don't want it to just be the colors that it came bought off the shelf. Hopefully the paint will take to this kind of rubbery styrofoam. I know acrylic, it doesn't have that stretchy buoyancy to it like fabric paint does. So hopefully it won't be too bad. At least like where I put the Magic Sculpt on, that stuff's super rigid, so I know that this paint's taking there. Alright. Got a little bit there. Now we'll flip to the other side of the eye. And then after these are on, I'll come back with some other colors, maybe some lighter whites or some bright blues, even brighter than this blue. Basically, I want to bring the color where I want it, since I had so much of the blue on the brush. And now I'm going to just kind of dry brush it in. And then pull that around just a little bit. Alright. I'll bring a little bit of highlight up to this upper brow because I feel like it needs it. Okay. I think that part is looking, there's a fair amount of contrast in there. Some variation in color. We'll come back with even lighter whites just to build it up even more. I think that's good on there for now. Now it's time to do the top part. And this is going to be pretty easy because I'm just going to do around the edges and then around the my creature curation sigil that's in the center. this is where my brush starts getting pretty beat up as I'm going across all the bumps. It really takes a beating. That's okay. These brushes are great. These Trekell brushes, and especially with the brush restorer stuff that they sell. Once you're done, you just wash it out really thoroughly, and then put it in the restorer. It's almost like a conditioner, and reshape it back to the shape that originally was when you bought it, and it does a pretty good job of getting it back to where it was. All right. Now that that part is underway, I want to go ahead and start putting some color on the bone spike that's at the bottom of the hammer. I'm just going to start out with some graveyard bone, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I'll probably come back in with a little bit of brown to blend in, some brighter white to come in from the top. There's some little bits of flashing of this cheap styrofoam hammer mold that I didn't do a great job pulling those pieces off. I'll probably just keep adding to this hammer each year, just doing little bits to it. So putting down a little bit of the graveyard bone. Again, this is another one of the Reaper Mini paint colors. Just going to use a little bit at a time. Make sure I'm pinching all of the water, all the moisture out of my brush. Even though it's got a little bit of a blue tint to it, I'm going to go ahead and start brushing this on. When I go really fast and don't have oversaturate my brush with paint, I can still let all the creases that I carved into this come through. And by just doing a little bit, it'll go a long way. There'll be some brush strokes in it, but we'll keep building it up, especially if I get some brown colors and bring that in from the top and work that down to the tip of the spike. We'll add some more lighter colors. Alright, so that's starting to get a little bit of color to it and starting to look fairly decent for a first underpainting. Now I'm going to grab some brown. So excuse me while I stand up and grab some brown off my shelf. Let's see. Blackened brown? No. Ruddy flesh? No. What's this one? Muddy brown. Let's go with that one for now. Make sure to shake these paints up, because if they've been sitting around a little while, they can start to separate. They can get like a little bit oily and a little bit, and then pigment, and it just doesn't go on as smoothly as it could. All right, make sure that this is in camera while I'm painting it, and I'm gonna put some brown around the top and then pull it down, and I'm probably gonna have to blend this in and add some more of that graveyard bone color. It's nice having a little Misfits, especially around the Halloween. And once you start getting this color on here like this, it's easy to start like smudging it with your fingers to really get the colors blended like you want them to. One of the problems that I'm having now that I'm seeing it on here, the color is really going straight into the color of the wrap that's around the handle. And I want it to have more contrast and more separation. So I need to think through how I'm going to achieve that and not just have it blend in. What I may end up doing is using that Nightmare Black, since it does have a blue tint to it, and bring that down into this claw tooth thing. Nice you doing the Bad Brains, since they were nominated for the Hall of Fame. Not Hall of Fame. Yes, that's it. Alright, got that in there. Alright, so I'm going to do a little test because I'm not sure how this is going to take the color, this styrofoam here. So I'm just going to take some of this Nightmare Black and pull all the moisture out of my brush. And I'm going to put it in this area that's a different pattern than the Celtic pattern along the side. Because I think if this had more contrast, if it had that... Yes, totally. They're on I guess they vote on certain ones to go in each year, and they're on there for this year. That's what happens when you don't look at Facebook ever. You don't know all this pointless trivia. Or what everybody thinks about random stupid shit. Not that that's random and stupid, but... Alright, I think this is going to take the paint really well. And I think it's going to be awesome to have different colors in there. So I'm going to stick with this color since I've already started putting it down. Plus, knowing that I like the blues in here, I'll put this Nightmare Black in. It's just going to make this, making this Warhammer take a little bit longer because there's a lot of little details that were in this sculpt, in this styrofoam. So I'm just going to have to go through it slowly. So that I don't seep my colors into any of the other parts. May even get a smaller brush to do this. I don't know. I don't usually like go much smaller than this. Alright, I'll do a little on this side. And I'm just gonna keep painting this handle a little bit. Anybody else, Carrie? I really didn't pay much attention aside from what our friend Jason had posted about it. One of the nice things about painting this, especially around here, in this dark, heavy blue, there's the seam that's coming down where the styrofoam is, and by painting it dark, the seam's going to kind of fade away in most spots and become less noticeable. There's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do about up here on the big part of the hammer, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to come in here, do the big part, do the other side, then have to come in with a smaller brush. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Oh, this is fun, Drew. On the last night that we played our Pathfinder game, we only played for like 30 minutes because Wyatt really wanted to play, but it wasn't like a normal night for us, so we couldn't really do anything other than a little bit of role-playing and a little bit of storytelling is to move the story forward. I brought the Mists in, and they entered into Barovia and into the realm of Ravenloft. And I think it's going to be fantastic for him. Because out of all the settings, to be able, for me to be able to just kind of DM off the cuff, I prefer to roleplay in that setting. And so I think he's gonna get the role playing pretty quickly that way. Oh, totally perfect time of year for it. It's crazy. I'm really enjoying using the D20 rules for him as opposed to the 5th edition, just because it's easy to not have to think about it since we've played so much of that. Plus, the idea of being able to pick more skills and having more options to actually go through for a kid seems so much more exciting. Alright, got that big base area down. Now I'm going to rinse this brush out, and we're going to get a smaller, thinner brush and see how fine my skills can get at getting getting the blue in there, the bluish black. All right, let's see. We're gonna pull out a Trekell #2 round. This was part of the Greg Simpkins brush line. He had a set of brushes that were made of ones that he used regularly, and I had not tried their brushes or their paints before, so I thought if I'm gonna try some, I'll try a recommended set, and I've really enjoyed using them. So now I'm just trying to get all these little fine details. Nothing super exciting in the process, but just being slow and steady with my hand, trying to make sure that I'm following along. And one of the nice things, since this does have like a little bit of a groove in the foam, if you go along it pretty well, the brush is gonna kind of flow with it pretty decently. Holy smokes, and Pathfinder has put out so much material since 3.5 came out. Alright, trying to figure out where to go next with this, because this pattern has 2 rings of weave, so I'm just going to do the inner part. I'm going to make that as negative space so I don't have to... Oh, you guys aren't seeing that well at all. Let me tilt that up. But by painting this, and so once I'm all done with it being painted, I'm going to spray this with a matte finish that you can use testers, which make model paint. They have really small cans of this dull coat, or you can get a matte finish it's in one of the bigger cans that you can get at like hobby stores, and it's just a matte acrylic finish. Basically, you want to coat the whole thing with a protective sealer so that paint's not going to break off too much, and it's going to hold up pretty well to UV light and things like that. I pretty much do the dull coat on almost everything except for really reptilian creatures. Nice. So some good ones in there to be nominated. Wouldn't be surprised if Carrie has passed out by now. Wyatt was sick Monday and Tuesday. Then she got sick last night and started getting sick last night today. Oh yeah, totally. I could see how bloat would definitely get in the way when it's now that I'm really the only 3.5 I'm playing with is my wife and my 7-year-old. It's pretty easy to figure out what we want to pick and choose from stuff, and nobody else knows the rules well enough to try and power game, so that part makes it easy. We're playing a 5th edition game with friends, and I like that for it, for being lighter and jumping. I feel like we're jumping more into the actual role playing than focusing on trying to become power users. But like when I was a kid and they had the Monstrous Compendium, that was the sort of stuff that I looked forward to saving up for and getting. So like with Pathfinder and their bestiaries, like I don't know if you've seen the bestiaries and the bestiary boxes. They have the book, and then they have the boxes that have all the little cardboard versions of the characters. If I had that when I was a kid, my mind would have been completely blown. Yeah, it totally does. Especially just being able to make up rules on the fly. I like how this is starting to come together, especially from afar. When you get up and see the details on it real close, it's not as clean and crisp as I would like. But I think from a distance, that's going to end up looking pretty sharp. Some of those parts you just can't get really well because of the styrofoam, but time to get a few more of these little nooks and crannies in here. Definitely enjoying making pieces for my costume. I'll be wearing like one of my pocket monster eyes as part of my attire. I need to make an augmentable destabilizer, a little portal thing that allows people to travel into my world of Revelo. I need to design that up and figure out a way to make multiples of it. Yeah, you know, I still really want to play a Fate game that somebody else runs, because I love the concept of Fate. We just had so many hiccups when we played it, just trying to get in the swing of things. But I really enjoyed that system, especially the concept of building the scenarios and the world together. I think that's pretty freaking brilliant, and really encourages people to be as engaged as possible. Huh. Well, thank you, Benicula. I'm sorry that the packing is blowing. I do hate to move. I'm hoping that the move into this house last August, a little over a year ago, will be the last one for a very, very, very long time. For me, the packing isn't so much the worst. It's the moving part. It's awesome that the color of yours matches Drew. Okay, now where is my negative space in here? Now, as this is a like cheap hammer from the Halloween store, some of the details may start to disappear as in certain areas where the mold may not have pressed down as hard as it should have. Yes, tediousness, total tedious. I always found when we'd move, I'd find so much stuff that I hadn't unpacked, just like under the house or in an attic, stuff that we hadn't touched in the previous 4 years of living in the place. It's like, well, if we haven't touched it in this long, do we really need to keep it? Because the sentimental only goes so far when you forget you have it. So I think I've got a little bit more on this design pattern to add some color to, and then we'll move on to somewhere else. I may add some more color to the bone down at the bottom, or maybe add some more color to the monster part. I don't know. Or maybe add some different browns to the leather part here. Maybe some of this brown so it ties it in together a little bit. Okay. Here's the space here. I find it so much easier to start with something that pre-exists, like this hammer or the goggles, than starting from scratch. Especially if you're just doing something for yourself, that it doesn't matter if it's not 100% original and it's just kind of semi-homemade. Damn, I wish we were playing Spin That Creature, and I'm glad your magic sculpt came in. Do you think you'll get a chance to work with it before the move? Spin That Creature! I really tried getting a GIF to work, but I couldn't get it to work in the MooBot features or to be able to do a keyboard command for it to actually spin, play the GIF. Almost done with this little bit. And I feel like the little buttons that are on the side probably need to be a different color as well. Just going to paint this whole thing probably by the time I'm done, just to make it look as unique as possible. Alright, we got that part done. Gonna rinse out my brush. Awesome. I hope you do find the time to. And if not, that'll be a nice, well, no, because once you're moving in and trying to get settled, it'll be a long time till you get to it, most likely. If I don't know. I like getting everything completely unpacked and settled in and ready to go. Okay, I'm just going to cut off a little bit more of this flashing. And flashing is just like when molds come together and some of it kind of seeps out the side a little bit. So, and if anybody's just recently joining, what I'm doing tonight is I'm customizing pre-existing props that I bought at a Halloween shop to make them my own and work them into my costume. Yeah, I have to get everything completely set up when I move in, and then I tend to do it pretty quick because I'm fairly determined to get things moving. So this was a Warhammer that I bought, and then I sculpted on top. I made these eyes, cut out some of the styrofoam, sculpted on top with a 2-part air drying resin called Magic Sculpt. Did the same thing on this side. I'm starting to paint some of the styrofoam here that's pre-built into it. I wrapped the handle in some leather with some different ornate push pins, and then sculpted kind of a tooth spike thing down at the base of the hammer. And then I'm also making some goggles that will match, so it was from the same creature that was slain to be part of my costume. So now, let's add some of that brown that I worked into the tooth part and see how that works on the styrofoam leather to try and work that in. Again, I'm going to shake this up because it's been a little while since I've used this color. Just drop a few drops onto my palette. Just going to bring it across and see what happens. I think just doing a little bit of dry brushing of this color to blend into the pre-existing color will go a long way. I may have to come back in with some like black wash to let it go into some of the seams or some of the creases, but I think this will definitely help. Especially where some of the silver is kind of coming through on these straps. We'll add another layer of depth to it by having it slowly fade up. And here I can definitely just use a finger to kind of smudge it away if it's taking up too much space. That'll help kind of blend it in a bit. But that, just quickly adding a little bit of that color adds a lot to it. Even if it's really subtle. So we'll go ahead and tilt this one on its top, and we'll do the same thing underneath. Now something happened when this particular hammer was coming out of the factory, because it looks like these two button nubs here on this side must have gotten ripped off because they put some sort of cheap epoxy on top of it to try and fix it, and they did not do a good job of getting a nice round shape at all. It's pretty amazing how bad it is. But that's okay. This is just for fun. And thank you, Killer Nen, for the auto host. I do appreciate it. I'm going to bring some up here. Just blend it down in. So, since I'm now a month into Twitch, I'm totally digging it. I plan on continuing on it for quite some time. Oh, hang on, let's see. That's morbid if you're wearing its face on yours and looking through its eyes. Yes, of course it's morbid. It is Halloween. And I think it would give me some sort of, I think the mask, looking through part of its eyes would kind of give me some sort of extra vision powers or something. I'll have to make up stats or some stuff to go with it to work into a game and turn these into real, like, magical items in game. But can anybody explain that's paying attention now? Explain to me how raids work, because now that I've been on a month, I'd like when I know I'm signing off, I'd like to go and jump into somebody else's thread, somebody else's stream, just to help support somebody else. So if anybody knows the right way to go about doing that, throw it in the chat so I can become a better Twitch streamer. And if not, I'll just have to look it up after this one's over, and hopefully have that prepped for my next stream on Saturday. Today is Wednesday. Yes. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing up top. Again, so see it's darker in the center and fading out. It's already giving it a little more depth to what was there before. Then we'll probably go in and do some darker bits around the X's underneath on that silver there. Or maybe even add a completely different color. I don't know yet. But first, we got to get this part right here. Alright, just putting a little bit of the brown down and start blending it down into the lighter brown. I see where I've got a little bit of blue that poked through there, but I let go a little crazy. Okay. I think that is pretty good for that part for now. Rinse out the old brush. I thought about putting some bronze in here, but I think there's not going to be enough contrast with the bronze and the browns. I'm trying to think of what to do with these metal-y buttons, or if I should just try and add some more gunmetal to it to make them stand out even more. I could put some of the dark color in this ornate shape, but I think that's going to be a little too challenging for me. Unless I put the dark Nightmare Black just in the square or the rectangular shape. That might be pretty nice. Let's try that and see what happens. Worst case, figure out how to repaint it. So I'm just gonna go lightly over this and hope that everything goes in pretty well. So I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look at that link later. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Benicula. And thank you, Drew. I'll definitely have to do that before next time. Drew, you can feel free to join the Discord and join in on the conversation when we're not on the streaming. All right, bringing this blue around. I think it might get lost. I think the hammer's totally going to get lost doing that. I don't think that was a good call. So I'm going to have to come back in. I'm going to use a little bit of water and see if I can wash it away at all. Just grab a paper towel and drag it along. And it's coming off pretty good since I just set it up. Rinse that brush out a little more, get some more water in there. Pardon me, I'm about to... Excuse me. Alright, wiping this thing down. And I'm gonna sneeze again. Pardon me. Right on, cool. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't have that on your work laptop. Alright, I'm gonna grab some of the gunmetal color that I have and see if that's a little bit brighter and see if it'll add more to this. If not, I'm going to start thinking about the color that's going to go around these rivets if I don't want it to be, or possibly making these kind of rivets more of a red color to kind of go with the eye that's in there. Great minds do Google alike. Alright, so for this one, I'm pretty sure that that Reaper makes some gunmetals and some silvers, but I tend to run out when it's late at night and I can't have it here the next day, so I end up just running to the hobby shop because they've got all the metal colors you can pretty much find for people that do different types of models, whether they're cars or armed military type stuff. So all the metal stuff you can get real easy. I'm going to go in with my smaller brush, my finer thin number 2 round. I'm going to touch up where there is some smudges that was just from the factory on here. See what changes with the color. See if it's significantly brighter or if it's even noticeable. And if it's not noticeable, I'll probably just use this as a touch-up color to go around areas where I see where things don't look as good as they should. Then I'll come back in and let's see, and then throw some other colors down. See, these are actually a lot duller in the handle, but I don't think it's worth actually going in and adding that gunmetal color to it. I don't think it's bright enough difference. So, that being said, let's see what I'm going to do next. Jeez. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some color under the straps while I start thinking about what I'm going to do with that next. Awesome. Very good. Did a lot of folks come in from the raid? Let's see, what color do I want to throw in here? I guess I'll go ahead and see what happens when I just use some watered down version of the Nightmare Black. I'm just putting a little bit of water in. Although with the water, because this is the styrofoam, it just seems to be pulling directly off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little wash of it on there, and then I'll pull down with my thumb and just kind of wear it down a little bit so it has a tint of the blue. Alright, I think that's going to work out pretty well. And then just going to pull it into the other side as well and hope that stuff dries up. And if not, I'm just going to have to throw some more color in. Pure black, that is not it. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and pull some of that color out since it's just kind of soaking up water. Grab just a dab of it. Pull it in. Since my brush is still pretty wet, I'm just going to wipe some of it down. By blowing on it, since it's runny, it kind of went into some of the seams. Awesome, very good. Yeah, I should definitely be trying to raid folks. Okay, do I like that enough to make it a difference in what was there? Not really. It's not a big enough contrast, and the blue in there isn't really awesome. So I'm gonna go back in with this flat brush, add some water, see what I can do to clean it up, see what I can do to erase my actions. As long as I get it pretty close, get most of that blue out, it's not going to be a big deal. Alright, I got most of that out, so that's good enough for that. I'm going to add some more white to the tooth, and let's get a lighter blue to add to the top of the top points of the monster eye, and then we need to come back and revisit the goggles. So I'm grabbing a Snow Shadow is the color. I've never used this color before, so I'm going to squirt a little out, see what happens. It's a grayish blue. Alright, I'm going to test it out, see what happens. think it's going to be cool. Ooh, it's very, very runny. Oh, that's okay. This is going to add another layer of complexity to the existing color palette, so I think this is good. Just grabbing a little bit here and there. I don't want to overdo it with this color, because I want it to make sure it feels like you still see all the other colors coming through. That was too much of it. Bring it down on the bottom, blend it in, bring it in up here. There we go. All right, I like having that color worked in there. A little bit right inside the eyelid. I don't know if it's so thin because I didn't shake it up enough, or if this color is just thinner than others. Snow Shadow makes me think of Storm Shadow. All right. Do a little bit more. I said I just wanted to do a little bit, and then the more I put it on, the more I want to add more to it, so we'll see where it ends up once it's done. Definitely like it, the addition of that color. It's very subtle. All right, that's pretty good on that one. I'm going to flip this guy over and do the same thing on the other side and add this color in. Now, one of the things of not having sprayed any of this down yet, if I keep flipping the sides and I leave it to rest on the eye, it's going to start pulling the color off. That's why it's so important to finish these sculptures with some sort of coating, like a clear coat or some sort of polyacrylic on top. So I think moving forward, I'm going to start putting it on one of its ends, like one of these ends that I haven't done anything to, and that's just the straight foam, just to ensure that it sees another day. Because tomorrow I'll spray this thing down, because it'll be to a good enough point tonight that this will be good for this Halloween, and I may add to it again next year or adjust. I do want to figure out some sort of handle so I can latch it onto my belt, so I'm not just carrying it around the entire time. Alright, let's put some of this color into the top, and there are some parts in the top that definitely need some attention. This round ring that's hanging out at the top is pretty crappy, so that needs some definite color to it. I don't know what they were thinking with that. And this guy's almost there. Yeah, something. I think a leather loop would probably work pretty well, especially like to do the leather handle around. Yeah, totally. Something softer would definitely be good. But I bought a big bag of these scraps of leather, so I've got a lot of that to probably work with. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of that gunmetal that I had squirted a ton of it out, and I'm gonna finish off this top piece, put this color in here, because that's what this part's missing. Is anybody that's watching really into cosplay? I'm very curious about doing like the starting to do some of the molded, not molded, but some of the I don't even remember what the type of texture is or material it is, but like the polyfoam type stuff that you can make armor out of. I know the engineer guy in Atlanta has classes on that every now and again. And me and my business partner almost signed up for that. I really need to get in on that because I think I could work it into a bunch of my different my sculptures and just into fun stuff. Right on. I have I've only done mainly just sculptures of monsters, so I haven't really done anything like that. So curious to see how that goes and how it works into my stuff. Right on, I will. Golden Lasso Girl. I'll definitely check her out. Luckily, the place that's in Atlanta is a great resource for buying materials as well, so I can get those pretty easily. Alright, I'm going to turn this guy on his side while that stuff dries, and let's start working some other colors into the goggles. I'm sorry that you're having to look at this part of it, because this part is definitely the ugly part. You know, maybe I could prop him up on some paint bottles and hope I don't make it crash down. That's so much more entertaining to look at than just the flat gunmetal of the flat of the hammer. Right on. I will definitely check out Golden Lasso Girl. I need to make a note of that. I will read it in the comments once we're done. That is what I will do. All right. I'm gonna put some more of this light blue that I now put in as to prop. So I gotta do the old Indiana Jones swap. There we go. Awesome. I think armor would be a lot of fun to make, especially like working in big like fangs and claws and horns and stuff. I love working like that sort of stuff into the creatures that I make, so I think it would just fit to add that into any armor that I make, or any wearables, I guess. So I'm just adding some of this light blue to have some more contrast, and then I'll come back in and I'll put some of that kind of grayish snow shadow color, work that into it. Ha! Right on. A corset. Right on. Very cool. So what are you trying to make? Is it Anazirith? That sounds like I'm pronouncing it wrong. Or what sort of stuff do you hope to make now that you're gaining the knowledge? Alright, now that I've got a little bit of blue on that side, I'm going to bring some more on this side, even though they were pretty unbalanced. I'm just going to keep adding a little bit more to brighten that up quite a bit. They're still fairly uneven when looking at them flat down. So I'm going to put a little more bright blue on what would be my left side. But I fear that this is starting to get a little too bright. That's okay. There will be a bit of a disconnect between the headpiece and the hammer, especially if it's hanging down around my leg from my belt. Okay, put those in. Now I'm going to rinse out my brush and I'm going to put some of that gray color on top. I'm just going to bring it in lightly along the top. And we're probably going to have to get some more of this gray color, so I'll shake it up more this time and see if that affects the consistency at all. I like having the lighter color right around the base. I'm definitely going to have to take some serious cleaning product to these lenses once it's all done. But I thought making the monster goggles was definitely a better approach for me than trying to make them more steampunky. Just didn't seem to fit with the rest of my character. Trying to work him into my world setting and figure out how he belongs is going to be interesting as well. I think I have one city that I'm going to designate that has humanoid races, but it's only been in the past like 2 decades that they started appearing on this continent. I haven't decided exactly if they're coming from other places in the world or if they're coming in from other planes or from other worlds and just coming through by some parallel universes. Need to work out that part of my mythology. Kind of game setting. It's since you're new here, let me grab just one of my. Whoa, sorry for the shaky. I'll grab one of my sculptures. This is my latest finished sculpture. Put him under here for a second as well. Although that's a pretty terrible. Here, there we go. That's my latest finished sculpture. He is a kind of lava goblin-ish creature. So basically, all the creatures that I make are slowly building out a world that will be a game setting. But it's also just the fantasy world where all my creatures come from, so that I can make up whatever I want, and I don't have to really be like, well, yes, it's definitely this. It's definitely a griffin, or it's definitely a cockatrice. It's whatever I want to make up, but I want to have some sort of backstory to all of it, and have the world really have its own politics and its own ecology, its own, just starting to work on the gods that are part of it, and really, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. That's most of my streams. About 2/3 of my streams have been sculpting ones, and then I do painting to finish the pieces out. But it also gives my son an opportunity, who's almost 7, to help build a world and come up with stuff. Lovely, I like that. I actually started coming up with the backstory on him, and once it's a little more refined, because I've only started writing a couple of sentences, I'll have that on my website along with photos of him. Excuse me for the spitting. What the? As well as also on my Discord channel, as I'm trying to start adding stuff to that as things get finished. All right, let's see how these goggles look with the hammer, as far as the coloration, and I think those are going to go fairly well together. Yeah, those are going to work great. I'll be able to work out some sort of story behind the beast that was slain, and whether the creature had multiple sets of eyes on it, which it probably would. Hot pun. Very hot pun. Very hot pun. All right. I think the goggles are in good shape. I don't think I'm going to add anything else to them for now. Except maybe that is a lie. I'm going to try and see what happens when I throw a little bit of black around on the leather, and see the fake leather, and see what happens. See if it pulls any of it in. Try and put it kind of underneath the sculpted parts. Because if it can kind of look a little more distressed and not so bright and shiny, faux leathery, that would be awesome. Sure, getting some sandpaper might help roughen it up a little bit, but I'm a little worried about the texture, a little bit of the surface, and I don't want to really damage it too much. All right, so I've got this going on. It's not really a huge difference. Nobody's really going to see that difference in there. Let's see what happens when I do it on the back of this and do a little test. Just kind of see what happens when I scrape a little bit of it. Not enough of anything, I don't think. It's definitely getting some more creases in it. I'm gonna go ahead and add some lines to it, see if it does anything. If not, it's not a big deal. This is just one of this is my dirty shovel tool from my normal sculpting. It needs to be cleaned off bad. totally let it gunk up because I was ready to crash last night. It's definitely starting to make it look a little more beat up. So I'll do it all the way around just for consistency's sake. And I'm just going to keep pulling it. This is just such a subtle detail. I'm hoping that maybe this over time will help it wear in different ways and maybe discolor slightly different. Sorry that I'm so off camera. Please, if I'm ever just not in view, be like, hey, if we were on the Lazy Susan, it would be spin that creature. And if not, just tell me to get in camera. There we go. Alright, just some little teeny details that are not going to be noticed by anybody. Alright, now that we've got that done, I'm going to rinse off my brush, make sure it is nice and dry and clean. Now it is time to add some color to some of these circles. See what happens. We've got time. Oh, that's going to be so much prettier. Especially if I can get it nice and even. Alright, this is definitely going to go, I'm going to do all of these little circles to make them, oh, I totally am laying that down like I said I wasn't going to. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to take some of this surf aqua color and lay it down on each of these little tiny dots. Just because I think it's going to make it look more interesting, even if it's not more realistic, since those would probably be some sort of metal. Maybe there's some sort of magical gem. Blue, red, blue. Oh, sorry, it was too slow for me. I like that. I do like that. You know what? I'll come back to that one. I'll just do every other one blue and then see what it looks like. I'll do a red on this side, especially with the red of the eye. I think that's a good call. If I get a little bit sloppy, I can always come back and touch up the silver parts with that gunmetal color. And I'm going to wait to do that red until I do some more of this blue, just so I'm not rinsing out my brush. Well, no, I won't. I'm too impatient. I want to see what it looks like. Yeah, let's do that. Let's find a good red color. Ooh, I know a good red color, though it might be a little too deep in color for this. The dragon red is always a nice, pretty, rich red. Pardon me as I reach. Alright. Dragon red, shakety shake. Do a little dab on my palette. Then we'll see how this looks. Looks like the color of blood. Dragon's blood that has been spilled for years and swallowed into this mighty hammer, the souls of many dragons. I think if I'm going to do that, I definitely have to darken up those blues, because the blues are looking a little too candy-ish, like just candy colored. But that's easy enough to do, I think. It's harder to swirl the colors and mix the colors on this little teeny tiny little nub. That's okay. Alright. Definitely much better with the darker of the blues once the red's in there. know if I like having the red. I think having just the red on the eyes. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy Golden Lasso Girl stream. Hope to see you again. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I don't know, I need to look at this for a second and decide if I like having the every other with the red. Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you for joining on tonight's quest. All right, first off, let's go ahead and patch up these ones on this side and make these a little more consistent in color with what we've got on the other side. I'm going to, on this side, see what happens when I do all three of them in that kind of darker blue. So I have a feeling that that's just kind of what I'm going to gravitate towards. Spin it around and around and around and around. All right, that color's starting to take. And from here, I'll be able to tell if I want to make that center one red, or if I want all of them to be this kind of darker blue color. I don't know. Anybody else have any opinion on which one they like better? The blue or the red, the all blue, or the blue with the red in the center? That will give me a prime opportunity to take a sip of water. Or a long chug of water. Well, while we're thinking about that, I'll go ahead and do some of these. And just by going gently around the surface. All right. You all win. The red in the center is what it will be. Thank you all for weighing in. That being said, I'm going to try and wipe this center one off and see if I can still get it while the paint's still slightly wet. And it's funny because I always say that I don't want to have a lonely color anywhere, so I think you're right. I think it's good to have that red incorporated in. Especially when I said that I didn't want this to be super monotone, and then I go and start making everything else blue. All right, let's do this one as well in the red. So far, I'm pretty pleased with how this thing's turning out. I need to put a little more color into the tooth, but first let's go ahead and get the rest of these dots done. I'll go ahead and do the rest of the red first, since I've got that color going. I think I'm going to leave the big ones just the stainless, or the brushed metal color. I think it's important to leave some of those and not make it too colorful. Ooh, look at me grabbing it where I'm not supposed to. I need to put some more red down. Just by getting my brush a nice good amount of paint on it, just laying it down on top, it goes on real easy. Go ahead and put another coat on this guy, and make sure this one's in good shape. This one's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm making sure to hold it by the handle. I'm gonna do the centers on these. And like what I was saying about the Reaper paints, they just come in so many different colors that they have so many great colors that you don't even have to mix, and you've got some really good looking stuff. All right, now I'm gonna turn it on on one of the tips to get these parts down here, and then we'll come in and start working in the blues for the dots. I'll probably go ahead and mix up some of that color just so I've got a fair amount of it. And then I'm gonna just need to make sure I don't forget any spots. And then once we've done that, we'll go and we'll visit the tooth fang poker at the bottom of the Warhammer. All right, I'm just gonna squirt a little of this Nightmare Black. Let's see. Set it down like that for a second. Nightmare Black. Just do a little drop into that blue. Mix it up. Lay it down. I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly paint all these circles to let them start drying up. And then I think maybe once this is all done, I'll take some before. I took a before picture so that we could see what it looked like before I started customizing it, and then see what the after looks like. Hopefully it'll be a significant change that it's like, yeah, it's totally worth doing that. Either way, it's been fun learning trying to see how well the Magic Sculpt takes on a soft styrofoam versus the rigid foam that the taxidermy forms are made out of, because that's a significant difference. The buoyancy, I just like saying buoyant and buoyancy. So much different to press the Magic Sculpt down into that. Candy. Oh, a few more. Oh, and this side too. Totally missed that side. Missed the red on that side as well. It's okay, I think some of these reds could probably use a little dollop of touch-up anyway. A little extra love. And just trying to get these well enough. I don't think I'm going to do anything else to any of the Celtic symbols that are weaving their way through the rest of this. I think just doing it on the handle was plenty, because that's where the majority of the detail really held up well from the styrofoam mold making of it, or the form of how it was made. And I'm gonna put my finger on the eyeball where I know it's safe and not gonna be jamming my finger in any wet paint. All right. Let me put some red, a little more red in. Then we'll do a few more highlights on the spike, and then I think we will be pretty close to done with this guy. Might need to touch up some spots around where I just painted with some of the gunmetal, but I may have to wait and let that stuff dry up a little bit. See how long it takes to do the spike. Okay. As it gets later in the night, my painting gets a little sloppier. It's not cool. Just giving these a little extra splash of color, just to make sure they punch out a little bit more, especially with how bright the eyeball is. And a wee bit more over here. Okay, I think that's all the red. Well, I think that's all the red we're going to put on this evening. Alright, now it's time to put a little more lighter color in the handle. Figure out a good way to hold this where I'm not... Damn, I just grabbed that, didn't I? Alright, I totally just grabbed the red dot again. Let me touch that up. It's not going to happen a third time. It is not going to happen. Alright. Making sure to grab it from a good spot. I'm going to move the goggles out of the way so they're not in the way. And I'm just, for this, I just want to bring a little bit more light color into the spike. Actually, I don't even really need it to be lighter. I just want it to be more of this graveyard bone. And may work in some of that grayish color, that bright kind of snow shadow. Let's see what happens when I put a little of that in. Giving it a little blue tinge. This is gonna be, that's cool. That'll be good. And then I'll just blend it in with some of the bone. I want it to be lighter now up here, now that there isn't as much contrast between that and the color of the leather. Maybe not quite that much. Whoops. It's alright. Work it down. Work some more of this grayish, bluish gray color. Keep spinning it around. With this, now everything's going to be thoroughly coated on here. This is going to be a little more finished. All right. So, from start to finish tonight on this guy, we did a lot of painting on painting the sculpted pieces, adding details in here. You know, and I think I will come back in with some of the silver just to touch some things up with a finer round brush, since I do have just a few more minutes left before I was planning on calling it a night. And I'm setting it on the eyeball. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just going to get my my number 2 round brush, pull it to a nice fine point with my saliva, and just paint around these circles just a little bit, just where some of the blues and reds escaped and went out on their own against, just if there's any real ones that really stand out. Oops, sorry for bumping the camera. There's a little bit right down here where I smudged my finger across a couple times in the red, so I can definitely touch that one up. Now's the time to do it, because tomorrow I'm going to be spray painting my son's staff down. It's going to be his kind of magic staff, and then I'm going to spray this thing down with some clear coat, some of the matte finish clear coat. And then it will be done, at least for this year. And a couple more touch-up spots that I'm seeing around here. It's one of the nice things, since this is like made out of a gunmetal silver styrofoam or painted with that, it's real easy to do little bits of touch-ups. Okay. And now that I'm looking at the tooth down below, now I don't like how bright it is. I want the brown back. Too many light decisions. All right, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna bring a little more brown back into this, and then this one will be done. So I'm gonna grab some of this brown. So Saturday coming up is going to be fun. I'm going to try and make a lot. I'm going to try and finish at least 2 out of the 3 sculptures that I'm working on. They're so close. I think with just a little bit of attention to each one, they're going to get done. So Saturday should be a good one to watch on. Hopefully I'll throw a few tips and tricks in as I'm finishing things up, as I'm getting some hands and feet on some hands on another. And plus, then from there, well, hopefully I'll have some that I can actually start to paint. And as we start to get into, I still haven't been able to get any order any silicone yet, so I don't think I'll do the monster clay this Saturday, like I thought I was going to do. I want to do some mold making, but I want to wait just a little bit. I feel like I should get a couple of these projects off my plate so I don't have so many pieces in flux. As much as I like having stuff going on. So I think this is pretty much it, because we're about 5 minutes out from when I was going to call it a night, 11:30. So let's take a recap as to what was done, and then I will bid you all a farewell. So I took what I had sculpted on this pre-bought Warhammer. I sculpted on top of it. I didn't do any sculpting tonight, but it was already dry and set up. Painted it. Talked about how I added the leather to the handle, how I sculpted on top of it the eyes that I made. Then we painted the goggles that I customized by sculpting on top of them as well. They definitely need some cleaning. But they're going to be part of my Halloween costume. It's some of my first entrance into doing any sort of cosplaying type stuff. Thank you. Good night, Panicula. Good luck with the rest of your packing. Thank you, everyone who has joined me this evening on my quest. I hope to see you again soon. And until next time, please feel free to reach out to me. One of the best ways would be through my Discord channel, which is in the link of my page. All right. Good night, all. Thank you.